The Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab, episode 899 from Monday, November 8th, 2021.
Folks, and welcome to the Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab, the show where you send in your tips, your questions, your cool stuff found. We take your tips and questions. We take your cool stuff found. We mash it all together into an agenda. We try to answer your questions. Sometimes we bring our own questions because the goal is for each and every one of us to learn at least 5 new things every single time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include a few existing sponsors and a few new sponsors. BBEdit with the new BBEdit 14 from Barebones. Zocdoc, where you can sign up for free at zocdoc.com/MGG. Trade, where you can get your first free bag of coffee and $5 off your bundle at drinktrade.com/MGG using promo code MGG. And Wealthfront, where you can get your first 5,000 managed for free at wealthfront.com/MGG. We will talk more in depth about each of those shortly here. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is John F. Braun. And
well, that's true. And that's right. We have a very special guest, a summit of the geeks, if you will, today. Mr. Gary Rosenzweig from MacMost is joining us today. Gary, thank you so much for being on the show.
Sure. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit more about what you do and why you do it. But we all do similar things here. So it's amazing. What was it? It was only in the last couple of months, I think, that we mentioned your stuff for the first time in the show, which just seemed preposterous that we had not mentioned any of the tips you made before, because you help people the same way we do. It's amazing. So it's great to have you here in the voice and for those of you watching the video in the flesh. So thanks again. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You know what? Let's get into the meat of this here. Then we'll talk a little bit more about who Gary is and where else you can find him and all that good stuff. But we will start with a quick tip from listener Jeff. We've been talking a lot about pictures and photos and all the new features there. And Jeff says, I just found something cool I'd like to share. I did a trade-in of my old MacBook Pro when I bought my new one. For the trade, Apple provides an empty box and shipping label to ship the trade back to them. After boxing it up, I used my iPhone to snap a picture of the shipping label. Then I called UPS and they came and picked it up. Later, I wanted to check on the status of the shipment. I thought I would use the new live text features of iOS 15 to copy and paste the tracking number into the UPS website. On my iPhone, I opened the photo of the shipping label and attempted to highlight the tracking number. I accidentally did a long press on it instead, and delightfully to my surprise, my iPhone popped up a preview with the latest tracking information already. That's pretty cool. I like the added the added bonus of that. That's pretty cool. We love quick tips here, Gary, because they are the things that are painfully obvious to us once we know them. And up until that moment, are generally not obvious. And when somebody sees it over your shoulder, it goes, wait, how did you do that?
Well, yeah, the live text actually lets you do a bunch of different little smart things. Like if there's an address, you can go to Maps. If there's a phone number, you can call it if you're doing it on your iPhone, or you can use FaceTime on your Mac.
Right.
So there's a bunch of interesting little things that you don't have to do that extra step of grabbing the text, going somewhere, and then using it. It can do it right from, whatever you're using to view the image in.
Yeah. And it will even do that in the camera app, right? You were telling us just like without even taking a picture, right?
Yeah. So my first quick tip that I brought with me today is that you don't even need to take a picture to use live text. So this, of course, works on the iPhone because you've got camera and the camera app. Let's say you're walking around, driving around, and you see some text somewhere, like it's a sign. Maybe you're shopping for houses and you see like a real estate sign or something like that. And there's a bunch of information. And in the past, even today, people will like to take pictures of signs. You take a picture of the sign, you get the phone number, you get the name, you get everything in it. You don't have to actually take a picture anymore, because when you use the camera app, the little live text yellow brackets appear right there on the camera app before you snap the shutter. And then underneath with the other buttons in the camera, there's a little live text button. Looks like the little brackets with some text in it. So the yellow appears and the little button appears. You tap the button and now you have all the live text options, including copy, share, and other things. Even like, you can do share and then save to file, or share and then go to messages. So you see a sign or something and you want to copy all the stuff down. Maybe it's like an agenda. Like, you walk in and there's like an agenda of like what's going on in today's meeting or whatever. You can just use the live text, copy the text, or send the text as a message, or save it as a file, or call a phone number right from the camera app. And you never snap the actual picture to do it, which is convenient. So you don't fill your Photos app up with tons of like pictures of
Sure.
signs and things you don't really need anymore.
Things you don't need again. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's I equate it to, I suppose the first part of this that we saw was QR codes, right? When you point your phone at a QR code, it would respond without you having to take a picture of it. And this just takes that and goes further down the road. It is a little weird. I've had to change my, the way that I interact, especially with QR codes, because the little like link now floats around in the image. It's
you have
a
to chase
target.
it. You have to chase it around. I know. I know. I'm sure waiters all across the world are having a blast seeing people, suddenly on their iPhones chasing the little tag around in the camera.
Well, maybe if they put drink menus up that way, it's a sobriety test, right? If you can't hit the drink menu, then you can't order another drink. You got to chill for maybe 20 minutes.
I love
That's
it.
right.
I love it. Yeah.
Now, I found this out very quickly, but there is a very small subset of live text in Monterey. And if you open a picture, I found an article that talked about secret hidden features, and I didn't know about this. So in Monterey, if you open a picture and there's text, hover your cursor over it, it'll turn into the text bar, and then you can copy the text, or if you right click, it offers to translate. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it works in like wherever the image is brought up raw. So it'll actually work in Safari on a web page if the image is just there. It's a regular image tag. A lot of times websites are presenting images as like div backgrounds and things like that, and then it won't quite work, But if it's just a standard image, like you're looking at Wikipedia or something, and there's like a standard image, you can actually use live text on that image in the web page.
Really?
So it's just not reliable because of the way web pages are. But like
Sure.
in the preview app or in other places, I even think you could take a screenshot of something, and then in the little floating thumbnail thing, or at least in preview, if you go to preview with the screenshot, you can do that and grab the text or do something with the text. So you have that option too. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So if the web page isn't presenting an image enough as an image for it to take it and run with it from there, you can screenshot it and run with it in the screenshot of the image that you just grabbed.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to go even further, there's, in the Shortcuts app, has an action for grabbing the text out of an image. So you can actually do a shortcut where you say, get a screenshot and then grab the text from it and then copy to clipboard. And then you take your own little 3-step shortcut, do a quick, copy of anything on your screen. And then suddenly your clipboard has the text in it, even though it was an image that you were selecting on the screen.
I like this.
Yeah. And it works like, it just works quick and every time. It's pretty impressive.
Have you built one of these shortcuts?
Yeah, sure. It's easy. It's just like 3 steps. You throw it together. I'm experimenting a lot with shortcuts now, so that's definitely one of the examples I'm going to be including.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, when you publish that, make sure to let us know, and we'll point everybody there. See, right when Shortcuts was announced for Monterey, I mean, it wasn't a great surprise, right? Like we knew that it was going to wind up coming to the Mac. It was like, okay, I certainly used and still use AppleScript a bunch. Automator, I used a little bit, but it was always a little bit clunky. Sorry, Sal. And, Shortcuts, it felt like maybe this is the right thing to, because it works so well on iOS. I mean, obviously it was, Apple acquired it because it worked so well on iOS, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, you can do AppleScript and JavaScript and shell scripts in Shortcuts on the Mac.
Right.
which makes it so much more powerful on the Mac than it is on, the iPhone or iPad.
I
Right,
forget.
just from that.
That's a great quick tip in and of itself. I had completely forgotten that we could do even shell scripting in shortcuts. Yeah.
Super powerful.
Super power. Yeah, I know. Yeah. All right, cool. This is great. Gives me something to do in my free time.
Yeah. So actually I have some more quick tips as well.
Let's go. What's your next one? Yeah.
So like they snuck a lot of stuff into Monterey. I mean, I've been telling people that Monterey really it's all about features, just like throwing features at you. And one of the features that doesn't even really make that many lists is if you go to preview, just like before, you can export from preview. And one of the options when you export from preview is a PDF I'm talking about, is you can set permissions, right? You can set a password. Well, now if you go to do that, that's all changed because they added a whole bunch of like different things that you could do with and without the password. So for instance, you set a password. Now you could say, okay, you need the password to print, to copy text, to insert, delete or rotate pages, adding annotations and signatures, or filling out form fields. You can specify which ones of those you need a password for and which ones you don't.
It lets you get that granular. That's very
it's a whole list of checkboxes.
That's un-Apple-like.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think they're trying to probably do feature parity with like the PDF specification, right? So if like the PDF specification is like you should be able to set a password and here's the things that you could control with a password, Apple's probably just catching up to like we're now at this level of like PDF specification for what preview can do. But unless you actually heard this here or whatever, you might not know that you had this extra functionality in preview.
Interesting.
Huh. Really handy. And another hidden thing that doesn't get much attention is now if you go in the Finder and you select an image file and then you look at the quick actions, in the little preview, or you control click and select quick actions, there's a new quick action that they snuck into Monterey called Convert Image. And it allows you to convert an image file to a JPEG, PNG, or HEIF, and select image size, small, medium, large, or actual size, which is the same thing that we've had all along in Mail, where you could set those 4 sizes.
Oh, right. Yeah, the little drop down when you're sending images in Mail, yeah.
So now you could convert it like in the Finder just using this little quick action here. You also have a checkbox for preserve metadata. So you could say, yeah, I'm going to convert this to a JPEG and strip the metadata out of it, which is important for posting online. Take a picture of your dog or something in your backyard and you post it online, and suddenly anybody that downloads the image has your GPS location of your house, that kind of thing. So it's a really handy thing, and it works even though it converts only to JPEG, PNG, and HEIF. It will actually accept images of all sorts of types, like a Photoshop document or a GIF or all sorts of other things. And then you can convert. So it's handy for like converting. You have an HEIF or HEIC file, and then you need to upload it to a website. And the website says, I don't know what this is because it's behind the times. And you can use this little quick action in the Finder to quickly make a JPEG. And while you're doing it, make it like the large size, which is 1280 pixels across by whatever up and down, to shrink the file a bit. Set it to JPEG, convert it, and then you have a JPEG to upload. You never had to open an app. You didn't have to buy Pixelmator or Acorn or Affinity or anything. You didn't have to do it in preview. It's all just done in the Finder without an app at all. So
I don't have a Monterey Mac in front of me, but I desperately want to test this out right now. I wonder if, your example of needing to do it in like Safari, which, uploading to a web page is a great example because it happens to all of us all the time. Yeah. I wonder if it can be done in the file dialog itself.
No.
Okay.
It's similar to, there's already like a rotate left quick action. So this is one along with that. Now there's rotate left or rotate right, I forget which one it is, and convert image is another one.
Got it.
So super handy.
Now I wonder
one of the most common questions I get asked is how to convert.
How to do that. Yeah. Now I clearly Apple was asked that question too, and now they gave us an answer. I wonder if there is something that like maybe the folks who make default folder could add so that we could have that right in file dialogues. Like, oh, I need this image. Right. I mean, like it's doable.
Now upload,
just
grab the image, but don't upload this image, convert it up and then upload the conversion. That would be a neat thing. Yeah.
Nice little trick, right?
Of course, even better would be for the websites to actually kind of update to actually use, because it's a standard, the HEI standard. It's not like it's some sort of proprietary thing. And it should be something that
you manage a website. You know how difficult it is to stay up to date with just the stuff you need, let alone
that's true. That's true. Though, I guess it would be added at more the server level. It would get into like this version of PHP and this version of Apache, and then WordPress would add it, support for it.
Sure.
And then, there's nothing for you to do. I don't actually have like an image upload thing at my site.
So you've avoided this problem.
Well, because of spam, it's an issue. If you let people, if you say, here's, ask me a question and upload a screenshot, I don't want to see what some of the, spam bots are actually going to be uploading.
It's a fair point.
I've had games. I have a jigsaw puzzle game site. And for a while I had a thing where you could upload your own image to it. And create your own jigsaw puzzle from a picture of your family, a nice wholesome picture of your family at Thanksgiving. Now it's a jigsaw puzzle, except that that's not what a lot of the pictures that were uploaded were. So, and unfortunately that has to be on the server in order to work. And that's not cool to have.
You don't want to be hosting
uploading anything. Yeah, exactly. I do not want it. So, it's like, if you need to send me a screenshot of like a problem you're having on your Mac, use Imager or Dropbox or iCloud photos or something. Share that.
So do you have and let's talk a little bit about what you do, because you've been running MacMost for a very long time. So tell us about your history here. Now that we've had some fun talking about geeky stuff, let's make sure people know who you actually are.
Sure. Well, yeah. So I started MacMost back in 2007.
Wow.
Originally I did web-based games, still have some web-based games out there, but that's kind of like how I got into everything in the 90s. And that kind of led into like the idea of podcasting, specifically video podcasting, which became hot for like 5 minutes around 2006, 2007, when they came out with the video iPod, remember that? And then
I do remember that.
Yeah. So then I was like, oh, we're already doing like online games. Let's do like videos. And I tried to create like a whole network of shows about different things. And one of those shows was about MacMost. And that's all the other show, everything else quickly kind of faded back and just started focusing on MacMost as like the video show I was doing.
Yeah.
And so that I started just doing tutorials, every day on Mac stuff. And I've been doing that since 2007. I basically post new tutorials to my site and to YouTube. It's mostly how-to. There's a lot of focus for other sites on like fixing things and something's broken and all of that. And
sure,
I focus on like how to get things done, how to use Pages to do this, how do you in the Finder accomplish this task, and I just keep creating the videos, and I've been doing it. I'm at video. Let's see. Yesterday I recorded video 2,575.
Wow.
And yeah, so just been going at it. And I've got, I just post to my site, post to YouTube. I do courses too, as kind of a support for the rest of it. And yeah, I have a lot of fun. People can go to the site and ask me questions. So I have a little forum and people can ask me questions there. And sometimes those questions I'll turn into videos. And,
sure.
And then, it's just I have a weekly newsletter. Most people that watch, because I publish every day, so it's hard to like every day go and check out what's new.
Sure.
So I publish a free newsletter every Thursday that just sums up the week. Here are the 5 new videos that I published, and then yeah, MacMost is supported through Patreon. So I actually don't have any ads at MacMost.com.
Fascinating.
It's just because I used to have ads.
Sure.
And I would hate having like ads that were counter to what I talked about. I'd say, do this or whatever. And then there'd be an ad for something that was,
competing with that or whatever.
Yeah, competing or like saying the opposite. And so I hated having the ads. So I got rid of it. I said, if people support me on Patreon, I won't need the ads anymore.
Yeah,
and
sure.
People came out and supported me on Patreon. So I got rid of the ads. I haven't had ads since 2017.
Do you have ads on your YouTube channel? Because I know you publish to YouTube as well.
Yeah, so people have the choice if they view the video. If they go to MacMost.com or through my newsletter, you'll never see an ad. For
Got it.
YouTube's going to make money off of my videos whether or not I do.
Yeah.
So I might as well get a cut of that. So
Right.
So
Right.
if you want to go and view them at YouTube, you can, and they're the regular YouTube ads.
Sure.
Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm assuming that YouTube is a channel that people that serves as like a way of marketing yourself, right? People find you on YouTube when they're looking for how do I do this kind of thing, and then hey, here's Gary. Wait, who is this guy?
It's like the second or third biggest search engine or whatever.
Second.
YouTube.
It's the second.
So a lot of times people discover me because they're looking for a how-to video,
right? And
they'll go right to YouTube and search for it, and that's how they'll discover MacMost. So
awesome. That's great. That's amazing, man. This is I mean, I knew all of this as an outsider, but it's interesting to hear you tell sort of the origin story of how you got to this point. It's pretty amazing that it was just one. You threw a lot of things at the wall, and one of them stuck. So
yeah, exactly. We had all sorts of weird shows, even comedy and all sorts of stuff. But it was the Mac stuff it wasn't even like a here's a concept for a show. It was like, we all use Macs, and we basically sit around all day talking about like, what did Steve Jobs say and what's like the rumors and all that. It's like, why don't we record this? Why don't we just like have a show? It's like, this would be the easiest show in the world, right? I could just write a script for this without ever even having to do any research because I already know all this stuff.
You know it all, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's kind of how this show started. It like I said, it's you and I have known each other for a very long time, but it's odd that we've never because we help people in very similar ways, I think, which I think is great. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. Any thoughts on any of this, John? Mr. Braun?
Speaking of ads, I had a dialogue pop up in front of me running Monterey.
Okay.
Saying personalized ads. And they have a spiel explaining what it is. So just to let you know, you may get this popping up. It happened when I ran, if you run news, for me, it popped up when I ran the stock application because I like playing with stocks, and I guess every now and then they serve up ads. So I'll link to, they have a support article explaining what they're doing. So.
Interesting. Huh. All right. Oh, interesting. I don't know that I've seen that, but I may well have seen it. Are the controls for it in security and privacy, John, like after the fact, if you want to tweak settings and things like that? Like I said, I haven't upgraded the studio to Monterey yet.
Settings, privacy, Apple advertising is where it is on the iDevice.
Right.
On Mac, it's, same place. Security and privacy, Apple advertising. So if you want to fine tune your advertising experience.
I like it. This is great. Excellent. Cool. We have a bunch of cool stuff found to talk about. We have your questions to answer, and I want to make sure we get to all of those. The next thing that I would like to do, if it works for you, Mr. John F. Braun, is talk about our first two sponsors for this episode.
Fantastic.
All right. Hey, do you get excited by a 5-star driver rating? Let's be honest, right? Those ratings matter a lot. And when it comes to finding doctors, ratings matter even more. Zocdoc, our sponsor, is an app where you compare doctors by their ratings and read reviews from real patients. You just download the free Zocdoc app, the easiest way to find a great doctor and instantly book an appointment. With Zocdoc, you search for local doctors who take your insurance. You can read those reviews I mentioned, and you can book an appointment in person or video. So whether you need a primary care physician, a dentist, etc., Zocdoc has you covered. And you do this by going to Zocdoc.com/MGG and downloading the Zocdoc app to sign up for free. Every month, millions of people use Zocdoc. I've used it too. It's fantastic to be able to read reviews. If you don't know anything about the doctor, how else are you going to know? It makes sense, right? And Zocdoc makes healthcare easy. Now is the time to prioritize your health. Again, go to Zocdoc.com/MGG and download the Zocdoc app to sign up for free and book a top-rated doctor. Many are available as soon as today. That's ZocDoc.com/MGG, and our thanks to Zocdoc for sponsoring this episode. Next up is Wealthfront. Look, stocks, memes, rocket ships, Day trading can be a lot of fun, right? But if you want to grow your long-term wealth and make it to the moon, now's the time to open up a Wealthfront investment account, because after answering just a couple of questions, Wealthfront will build you a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds in minutes. You can also build your own portfolio with, clean energy funds or crypto trusts, cannabis, tech. Wealthfront even offers a socially responsible portfolio, which is a mix of funds built around human rights, climate change, sustainability, and diversity. Best of all, Wealthfront is totally automated. They do all the trading, all the rebalancing, and they even help you lower your tax bill while you invest. To start building your wealth and, this is the best part, get your first $5,000 managed for free for life. Go to wealthfront.com/MGG. That's wealthfront.com/MGG to start building your wealth today. That's wealthfront.com/MGG and get started today. Our thanks to Wealthfront for sponsoring this episode. All right, guys, let's do some cool stuff found. Gary, you want to start us off? You were telling us about an Apple Watch charger you had, yeah?
Yeah, well, I think last week you guys talked about, how easy it is to forget to bring your Apple Watch charger with you on a trip.
Yes.
And actually, for good reason, because that cable is 12 feet long or something that they give you, Apple gives. I suppose it's because it's supposed to be in your nightstand or something, and it's
sure. Yeah, no, right. If you're traipsing it from the floor, plug up to your night. Right. So my wife has, I think it's a 3-foot long Apple Watch charger. Mm-hmm. And every time we travel, I am super envious of this thing. I could go buy one. It's probably $12, but I never think to. So you have an answer for me, don't you?
I've got, because I thought there's got to be a better way. So I did look on Amazon, and there is like a Apple Watch charger with no cable at all. Like it literally is just the USB port and the part that you put your watch on. So, and it weighs nothing. It feels like it's just empty. So it weighs nothing. It's as tiny as could be. It actually works really well. I used it I took a red-eye flight, and I was able to plug it into the USB port under the TV screen in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. It plugs in the right way, and then you sit your watch on top of it. The downside is that it's really hard. I have one of those chargers that has 3 ports on it or whatever. And if I plug this into it to get the watch to stay on it and all that. So it's not the kind of thing you want to use as your everyday charger. But to put in your travel stuff and have with you, because you only need like a couple hours charge. Like your Apple Watch
at
is great.
most.
If you forget to plug it in at night and you get up in the morning, you could charge it while you're in the shower, and you're probably good for the day. Yeah. So this thing saves you. It's like way better. I think it was like $10.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's definitely like easy purchase, and it's in my travel bag, and that's where it lives.
Yeah, just 100% of the time. Yeah, exactly.
100% of the time. I have the regular cable on my nightstand, and that's where my watch normally gets charged. So that was a good find. And I can't believe I went through earlier trips this year and I didn't have this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I've got it.
Yeah. This problem is over now. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. I looking at that, and for those of you watching the video, you can see it. My use case thought was, this would be perfect to plug into a battery pack that has a USB-A port on it, right?
Definitely. It works. Yeah.
And, like you said, it doesn't take much power to charge up the watch. So you're not going to deplete your battery pack, but you put that, on the counter or whatever, you plug that thing in, you're good to go. And then you're off to the races. Yeah. I like it. I like it. It's good. Great stuff. Yeah, you understand what cool stuff found is here, because that's it, man. Yeah. Richard also understands. He says, you want to hide the notch on the new MacBook Pros? Use this app called TopNotch. John, he says, we will love it because it's free. And it is. It's at topnotch.app. And the whole idea is that it makes your entire menu bar black so that you are not seeing the cutout for the notch in the otherwise colorful menu bar. So it doesn't quite deal with some of the idiosyncrasies that the operating system causes because of the notch. We're getting there. I'm sort of surprised that we're here a week later doing the episode and Apple still hasn't pushed an update to address the fact that menu bar items just disappear under the notch. I won't overly rant about that, but it does seem a little odd that they let that ship. But I'm guessing certainly by the end of this month, we'll see that fixed. I don't know. Do you have one of the new MacBook Pros yet, Gary, or no?
Well, I have last year's M1.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm waiting now. The sad thing is I bought a Mac Pro in 2019.
Oh.
You can only guess what I spent on it. Well, it was like $9,000, right? For
Right.
this Mac Pro.
Right.
And when the M1 Mac came out, I ran some tests, and it's sad because I think I got like my M1 is it's an 8 gig version, and it is it's my Mac Pro is faster, but not by that much. Like rendering video out, like I would render a video as a test, and it would be like a minute and a half, and then the M1 would be like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh man, that's not that's not a $9,000 like bonus there for that. Even some stuff like numbers calculations are faster on the M1 than they are on my Mac Pro.
I believe it.
So it's sad, but I guess, hold out until they come out with a new Mac Pro. Because if I bought the new MacBook Pro, with the M1 Max in it, I know that next year they'll come out with the Mac Pro, and then it'll be like, oh, now I gotta get
that's
this.
What I wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I really want. I need something that's under the desk. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think when they announced the M1 Max and M1 Pro based MacBook Pros, my comment then was I really want an iMac with those, because that's sort of the thing that works for me at my desk, both here in the studio and down in the office. And my hope still is that they wanted to get orders for the MacBook Pros out first, and with the chip shortage and everything sort of tempering the release of that iMac, because it's ready to go. It's got to be ready to go.
Yeah, it's probably supply of the screen, right? Because if they went from a 21.5-inch to a 24-inch for the low end, right?
Yeah.
So now they're going to go from a 27-inch to what? It's going to be like a 29, 30-inch screen for maybe even a 32-inch screen. Who knows? And that's probably the kind of thing where they need to place an order, and it's going to take 6 months for, companies to be able to produce enough screens for a
I hear people are dumping containers off of cargo ships. Like shipping companies are dumping containers off of full containers off of cargo ships in the LA harbor because they'll make money bringing the ship somewhere else to go get stuff. Like, this is a major problem.
It's a weird time.
It's a weird time. Yeah. So I guess you get some scuba gear, and maybe you can go get some good stuff if you go take a dive.
I don't know. You do a deep dive on Amazon, see some of the stuff that's probably in those containers, and you're like, who's buying this?
Fair. Yeah. All right. Anything on any of that, John, or shall we keep moving on here?
Moving on, please.
Moving on. All right. Mr. Braun's keeping us trucking here today. Adam writes in, he says, as you know, with a custom domain, most domain registrars want to charge you to set up email. That's one of the reasons why iCloud Plus might be really attractive to a lot of folks, because it is free or no cost added if you already pay for iCloud, and then you can use your custom domain there. He says, I'm still not convinced by iCloud Plus custom domains, which seem a bit basic. So I did a little bit of digging. Fastmail and P.O. Box allow you to use a custom domain for free if you already pay for their service, and it works very well. But almost everyone else wants to charge. Rackspace, GoDaddy, Hover, Porkbun, he says, which I personally use, all charge around $3 for an email account with a few gigs of storage. But there is one domain registrar that gives 2 free email accounts with 3 gigs each, and it is Gandhi.net, Gandi.net. He says, I'm not sure how well known it is in the United States, but it's one of the larger European registrars and has a rather solid reputation. 3 gigs isn't enormous, but it might be enough for many folks. Gandhi also gives free email forwarding, which is another rather rare offering. You could forward to a Gmail account for free if you were crazy enough to use Gmail, in Adam's mind. Gandhi isn't the cheapest registrar, but it is not the most expensive either. Another advantage is that data would be protected by GDPR and not available to the U.S. agencies under the Cloud Act. So thanks for that. I'd never heard of Gandhi.net. Had either, John, did you know about Gandhi.net for domains? Yeah. It's news to me. It's cool stuff found. I like it. Good stuff. What do you do? Well, I mean, you host MacMost somewhere so that you just have your email as part of that, right?
I'm actually using yeah, I love the whole iCloud custom domain thing, except I already have like a solution I've been using for years and years and years, so I'm not kind of willing to switch.
Same.
It's Google. Yeah, I know you're probably not happy about that, but I mean, it's the Google, the business level stuff, right? So not the vanilla Gmail, but they used to have, well, they still have this like Google Apps thing, and you could do just mail. So I don't actually use any of their other stuff. I just have their mail servers,
Right.
and I'm grandfathered in because I've had it for so long that I'm not
Yeah.
actually paying for it, right? If you had it a
Yeah.
long time ago, it was free forever, and now you still have it free forever. If you want it now, you got to pay.
Now you got to pay.
But
Yeah.
but the reason I like it is that, well, number one, it never seems to give me any trouble, like years and years and years, and it just, my email is up. Before that, my email would go down every once in a while. There'd be
Oh.
like a server issue. So I'm glad to have that behind me. And the other thing I like is the massive kind of spam controls that they have, because Google, like Apple, gets so much mail in that it's easier for them to have algorithms that figure out, hey, a million messages were just sent, that are exactly the same. This is probably spam, and I'll never see it. Whereas when you have your own custom server, it doesn't have that kind of
No.
data. So
we ran our own mail server up until we moved Mac Observer and Backbeat and Mac Geek Gab and all the related domains. We moved them into the Google Apps for Domains back when it was free. So we're grandfathered as well.
Okay, yeah.
And running your own mail server, we had an issue one Saturday afternoon where our admin team decided to update some component of something, and it broke everything about the rest of our mail server. And in that moment, I realized I was the only person on the planet who knew all of the moving parts that assembled to make our mail server. And we probably spent about 10 hours trying to fix this problem. And we did fix it. But by about hour 2, I decided, okay, we have to get this fixed, because this is the fastest path to resolution here and getting mail flowing again. And I know we can. We wound up having to find like an old build of whatever that particular module was on some random Russian site somewhere. And it was like, I guess this is going to be okay to run on our servers, but who knows? And it was. But the decision I made was, never again will I run my own mail server. And so we did. We moved to the Google Apps for Domains. It's the grandfather plan is great. It's fantastic. I moved my personal mail. We had Fastmail as a sponsor either earlier this year or late last year, or it might have been early last year. Time has been malleable over the last couple of years, as we all know. But anyway, I moved my personal mail. Everything that flows to me winds up at a Fastmail account. And they have enough volume there that their spam engines are super smart, but they also are super controllable. Unlike Google's, where you sort of get what you get and you don't you don't have the option of saying, no, I want that through. Even though you're not letting that through for other people, I want that through. Fastmail, they have this scripting language where it's super advanced, and you could completely ruin the way your email is processed. Like, you can put scripts in and rules in very early in the process of where mail comes in there, and it tread carefully. And they tell you too. They're like, look, here, with great power comes great responsibility. You can use the GUI and do it safely, or have at it with our scripting language, and you're good to go. But yeah, Fastmail has proven to be. I really like them. In terms of, if you're with Google and it's free, it works really. I know Adam didn't like them, but I don't know, man. Fastmail
is great. I used Fastmail 20 years ago before I had my own custom server, right? It was like Fastmail, and I loved them. Then custom server, and that didn't work out, and somehow I ended up at Google.
Sure.
I mean, I would love to try out. I probably am going to try out iCloud custom domains as a test, not for my email, but just set up like a domain and see how it works and all that. But if Google were to, somehow make me angry or something over their service, I haven't had any problems in years. Fastmail would probably be like my go-to.
Yeah. Yes. very much second that recommendation. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. No, it's good stuff.
Good to
Yeah. All right. John, do you have any cool stuff found for us today, or are we just cranking along here?
Maybe.
All right, Gary, you want to take us to your MagSafe thing, and then maybe John will bring us in? Yeah.
So I went on a quest before a recent trip where I knew I'd be taking a lot of pictures with my iPhone for a MagSafe tripod adapter, right? Because you've got MagSafe on the current phones. Why am I still like clamping on this spring-loaded, thing to hold my iPhone in place on top of a tripod? I should be able to use MagSafe to do it. And I was disappointed to find there wasn't really the ideal product out there, because the ideal product should be just the MagSafe circle, and then maybe like just a quick little joint, and it hooks into a tripod. But I couldn't find that.
Okay.
But I really couldn't find almost anything until I noticed that there was one car adapter that it's really meant for the car. It actually, comes with this little foot that you would stick to something on your car, and then this slides into that, and then you've got a MagSafe like mount for your
Got
iPhone.
it. So okay, yeah. For people that can't see it, like there's this foot that you would put on your car,
flat thing. Yeah.
Yep. And then the MagSafe disc is on an arm that has a right angle and then goes down into this foot. So meant for the dashboard of a car.
Meant for the dashboard, but they were smart enough in the bottom of the main part to include a screw for a tripod.
Oh.
So you forget about all that other stuff and just take the main part of this, screw that onto the top of your tripod. It even has a little dot for, some tripods have a dot on one end, so it stays
to
steady.
align to keep it straight. Yeah.
Straight. It even has that in it, and you could mount this basically on top of your regular tripod, and now you have MagSafe on top of your tripod. So your iPhone just sticks to it with, the magnet,
Amazing.
making it so easy to remove and add your iPhone to it. It's really cool. It wasn't that expensive. I forget how much it was. It was pretty cheap.
But
I would hope in the future I'd be able to get something more compact and ready for travel that didn't have this like huge arm on it. It was a much smaller arm somehow, or much more lightweight or something. But it doesn't actually weigh much. It just is kind of a large
just a little
object.
bulky for what you're using it for. Yeah.
But anyway, cool thing. And it's just something, if you use your iPhone for photography like I do, and whether it's a big tripod or a small just desk tripod or whatever it is you're using, I mean, MagSafe's the way to go. Why be clamping one of those things to your iPhone? It doesn't make sense anymore.
I like this idea of using Yeah, right. We've talked about this on the show recently. For its first year, I really sort of ignored MagSafe. I didn't see the allure of it. And now, I'm where you are, where it's like, wait, I want MagSafe to do all of these things that no one's doing yet. Exactly, but I'm here. I'm ready for it. Cash in hand. Like, let's go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. It's a good thing. I think the market just needs more MagSafe compatible iPhones out there for people to, for inventors, because what you're talking about is very much let me mock this up on my 3D printer and then, go to Alibaba and find a factory that it's going to make me, 500 of these, and then I'm going to go sell them on Amazon. Like it's definitely a small business niche kind of thing, but like the world is perfect for that these days. It's amazing, in fact, how well it goes. So definitely. Very cool. All right, John, what do you have, my friend?
I got something that we got at the show, Dave.
At PepCom. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it is called, whoops, what happened there?
Don't know.
It's the Lenovo Smart Clock Essential.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, if you were one of the first people there, you got one of these. So, it's a clock. It's an alarm clock.
Okay.
Nice big display for people that can't see very far.
Or can't see without their glasses in the middle of the night. Right. Yeah.
It shows the day, it shows the time, it shows the weather, so that's kind of neat. Because you set it up with the Google app on your iOS device.
Got it.
The thing I like about, or the thing is interesting about it, you told me to explore this, and I'm cool with this. So, it's also a Google Assistant.
Right.
And the cool part about that is, let me see how hard it's going to be to integrate all my stuff with Google versus the other things. And it was pretty easy. They have, so I use the SmartThings hub, and they have during setup, they have a thing saying, oh, you want to mind meld and, download the SmartThings profile? And I'm like, yep. And it's like, okay, here you go. Populated the screen with the exact same entries that I see in the SmartThings app. And, I was the way to control it is the way I'm pretty used to it anyways.
Yeah.
Turn the light on, turn the light off, set the brightness, set the color. So that's nice. It has also a switch if you want to turn off the mic. You don't want it listening to you. It has a USB-A port so you can charge some of your stuff, and it has a little night light. So
that's handy.
You don't go crashing into things.
I like that. That's pretty good. Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, check yours out.
Yeah, I know. I have one. I haven't. We have some Sonos devices which you can choose your smart assistant. So you can choose, the Amazon A-Lady or Google with it. And a couple of them I have turned to Google. So in our kitchen, we can talk to Siri, Amazon's A-Lady, or Google. And it's been fascinating experiencing how they each respond. You're right. The smart home stuff is largely trivial. You just, set it up and even if you have to add a couple of different providers to it, right? Like it's still all right there. It's and then, like you said, you interact with it the same way. Where it really gets interesting is asking them questions, like research questions. And for me, Google, like far and away wins that battle. Siri almost always tells me, you should look that up on the web. And it's like, cool, but I asked you with my voice. The Amazon thing's gotten better over the years. But, Google's a search company, right? Like they get this stuff. And they also understand that if you ask something with your voice, you want the answer back with a voice. Yeah, that's pretty good. I have a question for you about this Lenovo thing, John. Can you set the alarm on it with your voice? Like, can you say, whatever, Google, set me a 7:30 alarm tomorrow morning?
I would. I haven't tried it.
Okay.
But I would be almost certain.
Sure, because you can do that with Siri too. And then the other thing that I want you to try is when the alarm's going off, ask it, Google, snooze or stop my alarm. Because I guarantee you, Google may or may not do that. I'm curious if this thing does it. The Amazon A-Lady, absolutely. The only way you interact with it is with your voice. So you have to be able to tell it to stop making its noise with your voice. If you can set an alarm on your iPhone by telling Siri, set an alarm for 7:30 tomorrow morning. When that alarm starts going off, you can yell all you want at your phone and it will not answer you while the alarm's going off. So you can set an alarm with your voice, but you cannot snooze an alarm with your voice. And it seems crazy to me because it's completely capable when it's playing a song. I can have the music cranking in my car, and if I say, Siri, do something, it answers me. So why can't it do that while it has an alarm?
Yeah. And another feature is that if the top is touch sensitive, so that's your traditional snooze.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, of course. Which, yeah, that's great. That's great. I don't know,
and it's not too expensive. I saw it online for like $30 or something. So it's about the same price as your other, assistant.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And is it well, I assume it's a speaker too, right? Is it a Bluetooth speaker so you could play music from your phone through it if you so chose?
I'll have to see. I hadn't thought
enjoy
of that.
Music. I mean, if it's Bluetooth and all of that, you can definitely play stuff through it. Yeah. That's cool. Fun. I like it. I like little things like this. It's good. All right. We have your questions to answer, and we definitely want to get to those. The next thing that I would love to do, if it's okay with you two gentlemen, is talk about our next two sponsors.
Okay.
All right. Hey, we get almost everything delivered to us these days. So why should your coffee be any different? Let Trade bring the best coffee right to your door, because Trade's goal is to make every cup of coffee your best ever. The journey to your perfect cup starts with taking their coffee quiz. I did this with Lisa. You folks know caffeine and me, we don't mix, but everybody in my house loves coffee. John loves coffee. So We've got a lot to work with here, right? If you use a French press, great. Automatic drip, great. You're a cold brew person, great. You got a super automatic machine, great. No problem. Your answers will allow Trade to pair you with the perfect coffee to fit your taste. It's really cool the way it all works. Trade guarantees that you'll love your first match. On the off chance that you don't, they'll replace it with a different bag for free. And the way it works is Trade partners with over 55 small U.S.-based roasters. We got some coffee because we're here in New Hampshire. We got some coffee from a company in Salem, Mass. The one we got is Kenya Ichamama. Jammy blackcurrant sweetness and a zing of fresh lime acidity are complemented by just a hint of savory tomato notes on the finish. That sounds delicious. It makes me want coffee. But you know I shouldn't have coffee, so I'm going to leave it for my wife and the family. For you, because you're a Mac Geek Gab listener, right now Trade is offering your first bag free and $5 off your bundle at checkout. To get yours, go to drinktrade.com/MGG and use promo code MGG. Take the quiz to start your journey to that perfect cup. That's drinktrade.com/MGG, promo code MGG for your first bag for free and $5 off your bundle. Enjoy, and our thanks to Trade for sponsoring this episode. Next up is BBEdit 14. Look, this brings a horde of new features, changes, improvements with new significantly deep capabilities for developers and data scientists especially. But it also offers lots of features for anyone who works with text. That means you want to count the words in a document? Great. You want to compare two documents? Great. It can do that. They've even got terminal commands so that you can invoke BBEdit from the terminal. You know, when you're at the terminal editing text files, that's kind of a drag, right? Wouldn't it be better to be at the terminal and want to edit a text file and type BBEdit space, the name of the text file, and then it opens up literally in BBEdit. Like, you know, the BBEdit you know and love. And if you don't know and love it, you go to barebones.com and you download your 30-day free trial. After 30 days, most of the features, including that one, continue to work. You got to check this out. They've got built-in support for all new languages: R, Go, Rust, Toml, Arduino, Pixar's USDA, Lisp. They have a repeat last command, which is super convenient. I wind up using it all the time. Check it out. Go to barebones.com and download your 30-day trial today. You're going to love it. Our thanks to Barebones and BBEdit for sponsoring this episode. All right, let's do some of these questions, shall we? John, you want to take us to Todd's question about network utility? Cool.
So, Todd says that I often end up helping family members and coworkers with their Macs. It was always very helpful to be able to run the network utility app to see if packets were running across their Ethernet and Wi-Fi connection. I know you covered this a ways back, but I can't believe nobody has elegantly replaced this handy utility. I have copied the old Apple Network Utility app to other machines, but sometimes I get an error. So yeah, that's one solution, is go back a couple of, and this works for me, but then he gave me some bad news. Doesn't work on the M1. So I got a suggestion, Dave.
Yes, sir.
But it's an iOS. But it's, I don't know when I stumbled across this, but it's Helium Electric?
Hurricane Electric.
Or Hurricane Electric. So they make something called HE.net network tools. The thing is, it's only on iOS and Android, but it's basically a GUI to, ping and probably more stuff. Like you can run iPerf from it, which I think is kind of neat. So if you want to benchmark your connection.
Yeah. So. The good news is that because it runs on the Apple Silicon chip that is in your iPhone and iPad.
I was thinking.
It runs on, I tested it and it runs fine. They allow it to run on in iPad mode on the M1. Yeah, all of those apps can run on the M1 if the developer doesn't check the box when they publish to say, don't let this download on the Mac. Like Facebook, for example, has made it so that their app no longer runs on the Mac. I still have a version on one of my M1 Air of the Facebook app that runs, but it's like a year old at this point because I think they flipped that switch in January or February or something. But yeah, this the Hurricane Electric tools, it works great on my M1 Macs. No problem at all. Yep. So on older Macs, on Intel Macs, I should say, you can copy the old network utility over and it'll run fine. with the newer Macs, with the M1 based Macs or Apple Silicon based Macs, I guess is the right way for us to say that, so that we be sure to cover whatever might come next. The Hurricane Electric tools. Do you have another answer for us, Gary, on this? Do you know of anything else?
No, I mean, of course, you could do command line.
Of course.
Things, if you need to. I miss network utility was handy. The other thing is a lot of the things that it used to do, you could just do on like there are various utility websites. If you need to do a quick trace route or something like, a lot of times you can search quickly and come up with some site,
Sure,
usually from like a routing company, hardware company or networking company that, familiar names, and you could do a quick like IP check or trace route or various other things. So it's not like it's totally unavailable to you, but it was so convenient to have it in that network utility app.
Yeah, I'm surprised that no one has like specifically targeted Mac users with an app to replace this. I mean, I know we're a bunch of nerds here or nerds in training, and all of those things are fine, but like we all want this. This is a common refrain from the audience here.
Right.
So,
and even a tool that's better. I mean, because before I could see a company saying, well, we can make this plus some things, but nobody's going to use it because there's a free, network utility comes with the system. Now it doesn't come with the system. So now's your chance to come out with like an app called Network Utility, put it in the App Store, and you even make it look like the old app. Apple won't care because they're not making it anymore. Yep. And, charge $5-10 for it or whatever, and you get a bunch of people paying for it.
Make a bunch of money. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a good thing. Hey, you're a developer, Gary. You've written some things.
I mostly
in the past.
do games. Do games, but I have thought about the fact that it would be neat to develop like a Swiss Army knife tool that just like I just kept throwing things at. Oh, you want a clipboard manager? I'll add that. You want like a toolbar thing, for the notch, I'll throw that in. Just throw a bunch of stuff into a utility. But hey, I only have unfortunately 24 hours a day, and I sleep for part of it. So
what this sleep thing? I don't understand when people talk about it. So I have a request for you, or really for anyone listening. And if an app like this exists, please let us know. Feedback at MacGeekGab.com, because we would love to know about this. Right, John?
Feedback at MacGeekGab.com?
It's feedback at MacGeekGab.com. That's correct. What I want is, when your Mac freezes and you have, if all you're doing is using your Mac to solve the problem, your only recourse is hold the power button in for 10 seconds, let it power down completely, just out of the blue, no grace whatsoever with this process, and then turn it back on. We've all been there. That happens. However, if you've already turned on the ability to SSH into your Mac, you can SSH in and issue a sudo space shutdown space -r space now. And I'll put this command in the show notes because it's super, super valuable. And you can do this from your iPhone if you run something like Prompt, right, which is an SSH client for the iPhone and iPad. And it, it's not the most gracious shutdown, but it's way better than just effectively yanking power from the motherboard. And what I would love, so that people don't have to remember this command. Obviously, it's burned into my memory. You can tell how many times I've had to do this. But even for me knowing the command to type, it's still a cumbersome process. I have to launch Prompt, I have to log in, and then I have to painstakingly on my iPhone keyboard tap out this command and make sure I don't fat finger it, because otherwise, it's not going to work. And then I have to type it all over again. I would love an iPhone app that's just called, Restart Remote Mac or Restart Local Mac or what. I don't care what anybody calls it. You could call it, Gary's best utility ever. As long as it does this is what I would love. And I realize I could probably sort out. I've built a Hello World app in Xcode or whatever, but I've never really dug in. I could probably make it for myself, but like you pointed out, it's not in my, the coding that I do every day is not that. It's mostly web stuff with PHP. So it would be a learning journey to get there. Not a bad learning journey, but that free time. I do require sleep, it turns out. So,
Would be tough. That is a great tip, though, about being able to sometimes log into your Mac, even if it's frozen. I've done that with screen sharing, believe it or not. Or, yeah, screen sharing where I've had one account and the Mac is frozen. And I've been like, oh, no, let me get on my other Mac. And I've been able to log into the other account and be live screen sharing. Even though the Mac seems frozen to its own keyboard and trackpad and screen, I'm actually using the other account, and I could like maybe quit some apps gracefully and all that stuff, and then shut down the Mac through that. And so not even the terminal command, but actually like through the GUI,
Amazing.
do it. So it's kind of, it's a neat trick to be able to do that. Sometimes a completely frozen Mac isn't as frozen as you think.
Rarely is it as frozen as you think. I would say probably, certainly 9 times out of 10, but maybe even 95 out of 100 times that my Mac appears frozen. If I just grab my phone, I can issue that command and it restarts, and then all is well, and I feel better about it.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely a better way to do it than actually using the power button.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. While we're at this, a tip that came up the other day, because my daughter's iPhone appeared to be frozen, and it was not entirely frozen, but she couldn't interact with it the way she wanted. She couldn't get it into the mode where she could restart it the way she knew to restart it. And I had to re-look up how to restart a frozen iPhone. And it's one of these things that I'm really trying to commit to memory, because there will be moments where I can't look it up if my iPhone is my only device. And it is with with iPhones that don't have a home button. The trick is press volume up quickly and release, press volume down quickly and release, and then hold the button on the other side, whatever we're supposed to call that button. Hold it in until you either see something on the screen that you can interact with, or the Apple logo comes up because you've restarted the phone successfully. So it's volume up, volume down, hold the button on the other side. So quick press on the first two and a long hold on the other one. So I'm saying it multiple times for my benefit, and hopefully for yours. So there you go. Have you found yourself in that scenario, Gary?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating too, because it is hard to look that up. And I've even had family members that have, sometimes they try to fix things on their own. They'll call Apple support because they'll be like, we don't want to rely on you for every little thing. Right. And they'll be like, oh, and I talked to, and it took all this time, and this is what we eventually did. I was like, oh, I could have told you that in like 3 seconds. But it's it is interesting that it does take a while to get there. Sometimes the simple restart. Of the iPhone. Yeah.
The first time it happened to me, I was on this. It was amazing. It was must have been 2019. I was at Podcast Movement, and the day before, NASA brought us on a tour of Kennedy Space Center. It was maybe 20 of us. It was amazing. And we got to the first stop on our tour where I would have loved to have taken some pictures and stuff with my phone. And my phone went into this it was like, I could tell there was some runaway process because it was hot to the touch. And I'm like, I have all day. I have this amazing thing that I'm going to experience, and I cannot remember how to restart my phone. But I went into this building. We got back on the bus, and I remembered, oh wait, my iPad has a data chip in it, a SIM in it or whatever. And so I looked it up quick, and I was like, right. And okay, everything is good.
We could have used your iPad to take pictures.
I could have. Yeah, I almost did.
I always get a smile whenever I'm somewhere, touring something on vacation. And if you look around, there's people taking pictures, a lot of people taking pictures of something. You look around, you'll find a couple people with iPads doing it. But you know what? I don't think it's that bad of an idea to actually take pictures with your iPad because of the screen. Because if your vision isn't great, if you need reading glasses or whatever, I mean, the iPad screen is amazing for actually framing your picture and seeing what it is that you're taking a picture of. So when I first saw people doing this, I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. It's, that's not the right way to take pictures. And then I forced myself to try it a few times because it became a thing.
Sure.
And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm still going to use my iPhone for it. But there is a bit of an advantage to using a big iPad screen to take a picture if you're into image composition and framing and all of that.
Yeah. For sure.
It's just funny because When
It
people
is-
started using that, other people were like, "That's not how you're supposed to use an iPad." And it's like,
Yeah.
sure.
It's got a
Sure it
camera
is.
in it. Yeah.
I mean, the camera may not be as good as the iPhone camera. I suspect it's not, but
No.
it's good.
No,
enough.
but it's gotten way better over the years, right? Like, let's look. I mean, I don't even know what the camera is in my new iPad mini because I didn't care when I bought it. But it's a 12 megapixel camera with a 5x digital zoom. So, no optical zoom on it. But like that's a fully capable camera. More than what we need for 95% of the things that we do, I think.
Yep.
So, yep. All right. We have a question from listener John that certainly has been plaguing me, and I think anyone or lots of people, we might have some answers here. John says, since moving to Monterey, my Apple Mail has not loaded any images. At the top of every message, I see a note, a bar, that says your network preferences prevent content from loading privately with a button that says load content directly. He says, of course, I can choose to click this button, but it's there on every other message. I've gone to network settings and I don't see anything that looks like something to load images. Please help. I'm sure I'm not the only one suffering from this. No, you are not the only one suffering from this. Have either of you experienced this, Gary or John?
Sure. Oh yeah.
Oh,
I could
okay.
recreate it. I could recreate it very easily.
Yes. Okay.
Not exactly, but I have a suggestion on where to look to fix it.
Okay, go with there's a lot of different places that we're going to be able to go to address this, but there's something at the core of it all, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, where would you go to fix it, John?
I think it may be a random bit flip. So if you go into Mail, Preferences, Viewing, there's a little checkbox, Load remote content in Messages. Make sure that's checked.
Well, so that's not there in Monterey, right? Are you looking at a Monterey machine?
Okay. No, I'm looking at. I haven't upgraded this machine yet.
Yeah, so this is a Monterey specific problem. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which is the first place I went to look. It was like because that's been there in the past, gone. So, Gary, do you have a thought on this?
Yeah. So there are 2 or 3 settings that affect this, and in Mail in Monterey, there's a setting. Trying to remember what the exact.
I've got it in front of me, so I'll share it and then I'll throw it back to you. It's Preferences, Privacy, which is a new pane in Monterey, and there are 3 checkboxes there. One is Protect Mail Activity, and if that's checked, then Hide IP Address is automatically checked, but Block All Content, which is the third one, is not checked. And then you can, of course, manipulate the checkboxes to choose which, if any of these you want. So.
And the third part of that is in system preferences, having private relay turned on or off.
Correct.
Now, here's the thing. Normally, you could set these however you want, and you should see your images fine in Mail. The element that has to be added in for this to break is if your network is somehow a little bit different. So I've seen this in people that are using a VPN. I've seen this in people not using a VPN, but a privacy tool, right? So it's not strictly VPN, but it's trying to block tracking and image tracking and stuff like that. And I've seen it personally. The reason I have it is because my network is a bit unusual. I've got a Wi-Fi network separate from my internet connection. In other words, I've got my DSL modem. It has Wi-Fi. I've turned that off, and I've simply connected by Ethernet from my internet, service provider to my own Wi-Fi network. So it's basically doing a double jump.
Sure.
And my Wi-Fi network is providing some protection. There's a separate layer it needs to jump. And I think in every case that I've seen, it's either a hardware thing like mine or a software thing like a privacy protection or VPN.
Yeah.
You add that in, and I think the way some email messages use their images, they're using I'm guessing a content delivery network. So where the image is actually being delivered by one of these big server farm type of things where and like a YouTube email, for instance. I see this instantly in my YouTube emails. There's little YouTube graphics. Oh, you have a comment on this video, and it's got a YouTube graphic and maybe a little icon of the video. That's of course being delivered by a big network for Google that is serving up images, and all that stuff turned on. and it's basically saying, I cannot get this image. So you have to turn all that stuff off, basically, in
or click the button that bypasses it for that
or just
one
click
message.
the button. Yeah, exactly.
But that's really annoying if you've got 10 email messages. Yeah.
And if your idea is, I want the privacy, I want, yes, protect email activity, hide my IP address. I want that. But if I turn it on now, I can't see the images.
Yeah.
And it's basically by you saying, I don't want to give away, my IP address, the email server on the other end says, but I don't know where to send this image. I'm not a network expert, but it seems like it's something to do with that. So
yeah, I've found this on both of my computers that are running Monterey, and for me, it very much is dependent on whether or not I have a VPN installed on my Mac. Because all of these things can happen. Mm-hmm. Like the things that I want to happen can happen when, all in concert with each other. You can have all these protections and, private relay turned on and the hide IP address in mail turned on, which is just another way of using private relay for folks that don't understand that, at least according to Apple. But with a VPN there, or like you said, something that's getting in the way and filtering network traffic in its own way, that's the moment where Apple says, like you said, there's something different about your network, either internally on your Mac or in your case, externally, you've got some double NAT thing going on. It says, I can't help, so I'm not going to. Yeah. And the way I've solved it on mine, because I had ExpressVPN installed on my laptop and was getting this, is I had to go into network preferences and I had to go through and run ExpressVPN's uninstaller, and then that freed it up and everything was fine. But I thought, well, this is ridiculous. So let me reinstall ExpressVPN and see if, a reinstall inside of Monterey creates maybe a better path for this. I don't know. And I did that and everything worked. And then I turned on ExpressVPN. And at that point, you get a message that says, we're not going to protect you anymore because you're using this other thing to protect you, but you're good to go. And the images would load. And then I turned off ExpressVPN. And until I rebooted, I was back to getting these messages if I had these settings turned on. Yeah, so they're like, it's clearly not intended to work exactly this way, but they haven't created enough of the, we'll call it workarounds or use case adaptations to know, okay, well, yeah, we were in this scenario, but now we're back here and this knot has been untied. So yes, we can allow the images to load through private relay and it's all good. So I think this is one of those things that, Monterey 0.1 will hopefully address, because it doesn't feel like a necessary thing, but I understand once I started digging into it, it was like, I understand why we're here. I don't like that we're here. We shouldn't be here. But, this should have been addressed over the summer. I don't know why I didn't notice it over the summer, though, on my laptop running Monterey. So that's another, this feels like something that didn't come up during the beta at all.
Well, I think private relay for a lot of the beta wasn't really active.
Not as active as we thought it was.
Yeah, because, they have to have a huge number of servers to support it. And I think basically during a lot of the beta, you had the switch, you could turn it on, and it was just like, I'm not doing anything now. The traffic's just going straight through. No,
it wasn't going. We tested it. I mean, I didn't test it every single time I turned it on, but, I certainly tested it on beta 1 on iOS, back in June or whatever. And it definitely was going through Cloudflare as the egress server.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it was there, but I don't know. Whatever's happening now is new as of the end of the beta or, the release. So yeah, one other thing about that, if I go to Wi-Fi, I see a setting for turning on private relay. If I go to Ethernet, I have no ability to turn on private relay. Why is that? I know you didn't make this decision at Apple, but.
Well, here's the thing is, so private relay at my office still does not work. It does not hide my IP address. Probably because of the double NAT.
Yeah.
And the fact I have a static IP address.
That shouldn't matter.
And I know it shouldn't, right? And if I use if I use a VPN, if I turn on a VPN, and I could totally mask, so, but it is never during the beta and any, right now with the live version of Monterey, it's simply if I go to like whatismyipaddress.com or one of
Yeah.
those sites, it knows what my IP
Hey, no.
address is. It's like it's not hiding anything. If I go through my phone, or I happen to be somewhere else, and I'll check out my IP address, I'll turn on private relay, and it's clearly working. But it just doesn't, I think the same thing that's preventing this little thing in email from not working, it's also preventing private relay from hiding my IP address with my kind of unique setup. And I mean, that's okay. I mean, I have a static IP address for certain security things for,
Sure.
getting to servers. So I actually don't want, I don't want it. It's like, I want this to be a static IP address, but
Right.
but yeah, it's clearly not as robust. And Apple says, and it's said over and over again, this is not a full VPN thing, right? There's a ton of stuff. VPN, you can go and say, I'm in Germany because I want to watch a German TV show. It's only available,
Yeah, no. That's not what this is for. Yeah,
I want to see what my website looks like in New Zealand, right? So I'm going to. You can't do all these VPN things with private relay. It's a very simple service, and it's a great thing for when traveling to turn that on and know that you've got this extra layer of protection.
It's simple, but there's one way in which it's more complex and more secure, or more private, I should say, than a VPN, and that's the double layered of the double layer of the server setup, right? Because with a VPN, we connect to the VPN server, and then that same VPN server is our proxy essentially to the rest of the world. It's the one that's doing all the requests for us. So if that one server were to be compromised, someone could see, okay, it's Dave at this IP address, or it's someone at this IP address that we can triangulate to Durham, New Hampshire, requesting something from whatever, Amazon.com or wherever it might be that I'm choosing to go through my VPN, or Netflix or whatever, With Apple's private relay, your request is encrypted by you using a public key, not from Apple's server, but from the outbound server. And it's broken into two, right? So you connect to Apple. Apple then takes your encrypted package of your request and hands that to what they're calling their egress servers. When I tested it, it was Cloudflare, although I'm sure they're partnering with lots of different companies to be those servers. And then that egress server is the thing that has the key to decrypt your request. It goes and makes the request for you, packages it back up, hands it back through Apple encrypted. Apple sends it to you. So they have no idea who you are, and Apple has no idea what you've gone and requested. So there is this, you can compromise our servers all you want. You're still not going to get anything valuable, right? So it's kind of like the Tor network with one less hop and a whole lot more speed. Is how I'm looking at the private relay. Yeah. So it's fun. John, we have another. I know we're past our normal 75 or so minutes here, but do you have another question you want to take us to before we pull the ripcord on this episode?
Yeah. Let me jump around a bit here because
I was jump around.
Proud
of course,
myself that I've solved this one.
Yeah.
Here we go. So I want to do Paul.
Okay. Great.
Because there's something new also. So I wonder if you can help with the question I have about macOS Monterey. I just did a fresh install on a new 16-inch MacBook Pro, and after spending a couple of days settling myself in, my enjoyment of my new Mac is being marred by some of the system animations, specifically the lurching in your face motion of, for example, the bin trash pop-up window, as well as other animations. I've gone into accessibility and have selected the reduce motion checkbox, but evidently it doesn't apply to this really annoying brash. Look at me, aren't I fancy braggart of an oh-so-brazen window animation. Wow. And then he talks about back in the day, he had a little utility called Lion Tweaks, which pretty much stopped all this nonsense. So I was like, how can I solve this? So one, it's weird because on my machine, on my MacBook, it doesn't do this. I don't know if it's because it's on the discrete chipset versus the... But anyways, I was like, you know where I'd look for a solution to this, Dave? I looked to Onyx. I got kind of nervous because I'm like, do they have Onyx from Monterey yet? And the good news is yes, they do.
I think it's like as of yesterday. So we're recording this on Friday the 5th. I think it came out this week. I didn't see a press release about it, but we had a listener write in Thursday morning saying, I can't, I need macOS or I need Onyx for Monterey. And I had just gone and looked and it was like, oh, wait, and it's there. Like it's problem solved. Your wish has been answered. Yeah.
So Onyx, parameters, MISC options. There's a little checkbox. Show graphic effects when opening a window. I think that'll help.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. There's probably a terminal command to do this too, but Onyx makes it so that we don't have to memorize those terminal commands or even have them logged anywhere. That's awesome. That's awesome. Did that work for him? Have you heard back?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm sure it would. Yeah. Have you run into this before, Gary? Have you solved it in a different way?
I'm not sure what animation this is because when I open trash, the window pops open.
Right.
I remember a long time ago, right? You'd have like, I don't know if it was a minimized window, it would come back up and all that. But certainly for opening trash or other things like that, I don't really see. There's the like downloads folder, has the little stack that pops up from it.
Right.
But you could always change that to, if you change it to list, then it appears as a list, so you don't need to do the little stack spring thing.
Yeah, the spring thing. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure what it is. I don't really, maybe it's using a different graphics chipset and I'm just not seeing that here on my Mac Pro or my M1.
Yep. Yep.
But
yeah.
I think there's a lot less going on now in terms of these little, annoying graphic things than there used to be. There's still some, you still can't, use mission control and you go to your next screen and it, does the whole slide over.
Yeah.
It would be great to be able to have it, for some people. I like it because it gives you a visual, like you get this feeling that I've moved over.
You've moved. Right. Sure.
Yeah. And it's quick. It's really quick now. But I understand some people's need for having it just switch like instantly.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better than how it was, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we had way too much of the let's make this feel like you're in the physical world thing happening. Yeah, but I'm with you on that. And even back then, it was annoying. I found it annoying at times, but it's also super informative. If we think about, there is what I'll call common knowledge, right? And it's it's probably the wrong term, but when we started using these things, nothing in the world reacted this way, right? So when you used it on a computer, it was potentially new for lots and lots of people. So having all of that stuff that sort of related to something you already understood may have made it easier to get people here. But now that literally everything's got a touch screen and it's pretty common to use this stuff. Your phone or your computer isn't the only place that you're seeing this. So maybe that's why we can get away, or Apple can get away. I say we, like I make any of these decisions, but but we as a people can get away with not including as much of that stuff to make us comfortable understanding what this thing in front of us is trying to tell us it's doing. I don't know. That's,
I still have a vision of some of the early Macs, black and white Macs. And I think when you double clicked on a folder, it would, kind of.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, that's nice. Not necessary.
Right. Not necessary.
The one gesture that I always like, I don't know if it's still in there, was if you got your password wrong,
it shakes back and forth.
And it was like, oh, I know what that means.
Yeah.
It means no.
Now your emoji will actually look frustrated. We'll go like this. On squinch the eyes and like look frustrated when you type your password wrong, which is really cool.
I gotta put I still have yet to put a memoji as my as my avatar inside macOS. I need to do that so that when I screw things up, I can at least enjoy those So yeah. All right. All right. Well, I think we've borrowed enough of everyone's time. Thank you, folks, for spending all of your time with us. Gary, thank you for spending your time with us. This has been fantastic. It's good stuff. It's good
thank
stuff.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you
of course. Yeah. Folks, make sure you check out our sponsors, of course, Zocdoc.com/MGG, Wealthfront.com/MGG, DrinkTrade.com/MGG, and Barebones.com for BBEdit. John, where can they find us?
MacGeekGab.com?
That'll work. That's a good place to start. No, that's a great place to start. Yeah. Gary, where can people find you?
MacMost.com.
MacMost.com. That's where you're going to find Gary. Absolutely. You make it easy. Well, that's the idea, isn't it? Right? We're not here to make it complicated to find us, especially when you need help. And that's kind of what we all do. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, Gary. This has been a long time in coming, and I'm so happy we made it work. If you maybe had something to say, maybe 3 somethings to say to the audience, Gary, what might those be?
Don't get caught.
Couldn't have said it better ourselves. Thanks again. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Gary. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.